Breaking news out of North Carolina, a military judge has come to a decision that Sergeant Bo Bergdahl will not serve prison time for endangering his comrades by walking off his Afghanistan post. The judge gave Bergdahl a dishonorable discharge, reduced his rank to private, and says he must forfeit pay equal to $1,000 per month for 10 months. Bergdahl pleaded guilty to desertion and misbehavior before the enemy and faced up to life in prison. The Army soldier was held captive by the Taliban for 5 years after leaving his Afghanistan outpost in 2009.
Breaking news out of Mapleton this morning, a family is found dead in their home and police believe it is a murder-suicide. Officers responded to the house near 1500 North and State Route 89 around 10 p.m. last night. A neighbor reported to police that the family's cars hadn't moved and the lights in the house had been off for multiple days. Police say they were able to enter the home by removing a window and found 4 people, a man, a woman, a teenage girl, a young boy, and a dog, all dead from apparent gunshot wounds. The family had only lived in Mapleton for 4 months.
Provo City is widening Lakeview Parkway. We'll tell you the possible effect it could have on an important archaeological site.
BYU and UVU students, rivalries or are they working together? It has to do with this yellow bin behind me. I'll tell you more coming up next.
A shouting argument involving Senator Hatch breaks out in a Senate committee meeting.
I come from the lower middle class originally. We didn't have anything. So don't spew that stuff on me.
Find out what sparked the heated exchange and hear what else the Utah senator had to say.
Officers and a teen are safe, but were involved in an encounter that could have ended in a deadly turnout.
You're giving me false info. Do you want to be charged on that? I'm trying to work with you guys. I'm letting your friend go on a warrant, and you're giving me somebody else's name.
Are you kidding me? Are you?
2 Orem police officers were on a call of a suspicious occupied vehicle when a teen opened the back door of the car and pulled the trigger several times with what turned out to be a BB gun. Orem PD said they were about to let the teens go until one gave a false name, which is when the teen pointed the gun. Students won't be staying in their apartment for a couple weeks after a bathroom break leads to an apartment fire. A man was cooking dinner at his Devonshire apartment in Provo and he left the stove to go to the bathroom. When he returned to the kitchen, it was on fire. Fire officials say they were able to save the living room, but the kitchen was badly damaged. Fire crews from Utah are in California to help control and extinguish wildfires. Utah Task Force 1 is working to protect vineyards and wineries. The wildfires have caused $1 billion in damage so far, and nearly 7,000 buildings are destroyed, and more than 15,000 people remain evacuated. 2 former U.S. presidents spoke critically of the current state of U.S. politics, encouraging Americans to stand together during this time of political divide.
We've seen our discourse degraded by casual cruelty. At times, it can seem like the forces pulling us apart are stronger than the forces binding us together.
We've got folks who are deliberately trying to make folks angry, to demonize people who have different ideas.
White House Chief of Staff John Kelly defends Donald Trump's call to the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson.
He asked me about previous presidents, and I said I can tell you that President Obama, who was my commander-in-chief when I was on active duty, did not call my family. That was not a criticism. That was just to simply say, I don't believe President Obama called. That's not a negative thing.
The defense comes after Democratic Congresswoman Frederica Wilson criticized the president for his condolence call. In a late-night tweet following Kelly's defense, President Trump attacked Wilson, calling her wacky, and continued to insist that she lied about his phone call.
I am so sorry to hear about the whole situation. What a horrible thing, except that he's an unbelievable hero. And, you know, all of the people that served with him are saying how incredible he was.
This call, which was released yesterday, came from President Trump in April when he called Natasha de Alencar, the widow of Staff Sergeant Mark de Alencar, who died in combat April 8th, the first American killed in combat in Afghanistan in 2017. De Alencar expressed gratitude to President Trump for the call, adding that he knew of her husband's awards and knowledge about the couple's children. The BYU ROTC Ranger Challenge team once again brought home a victory for the Cougs in the regional task force competition. They battled fierce winds, cold, and snow while hauling more than 40 pounds of gear over a 10-hour period. They competed against 14 teams from 10 schools in the region. The team has won the regional competition 22 times of the past 30 years. Logan Yates, a member of the team, gives an account of the emotional race to the finish line.
We crossed the finish line. I just it was so funny because we were just all tired, we were all exhausted, and then when we said like the prayer at the end, like I teared up a bit. It was just a very emotional finish.
The team competed in rifle shooting, land navigation, combat casualty care, and fitness events over a 20-mile period. They head to Texas next month to compete in the 5th Brigade Championship against other ROTC regional programs. The Alpine Loop offers breathtaking views of the fall colors and the mountains. 11 News reporter Charlie Young tells us why the leaves are doing more than just turning heads.
Getting lost in the leaves is not just for Utahns. People travel from all over the world to visit the Alpine Loop. The beautiful 20-mile drive through the alpine canyons of the Wasatch Range gives an incredible view of the fall leaves.
I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We came here and we're celebrating our 9-year anniversary, and we're so blessed that you guys are celebrating this beautiful time where the leaves are falling and changing colors. So that's pretty much why we came.
From Bryce Canyon, Utah. I just love all the different colors and looking up in the mountains and seeing just the contrast with all of them.
Maple, aspen, and oak trees are just a few trees to name that have the beautiful, vibrant colors of fall, but people say they love to come see the evergreens as well. KJ Pollock with the Uinta-Wasatch Cache National Forest says because of the snowpack, we didn't have a normal drought this year, which helped the colors on the leaves be more vibrant.
Like the yellows and the reds are my two favorites. So sometimes you see the orange, but the yellow, especially when the yellow in the morning when the sun hits it, oh, it's absolutely beautiful.
It's a gorgeous drive any time of year, so I always recommend it to people who are looking for stuff to do.
Driving through the Alpine Loop isn't going to cost you anything to see the beautiful leaves on the trees, but if you're getting out to take pictures for only 3 days, it is $6. I'm Charlie Young, 11 News.
A man is behind bars after leading police on a high-speed chase reaching 100 miles per hour. The chase started after officers found the man asleep inside a stolen vehicle. When the officers attempted to talk to the man, he drove off. Officers tried to pull a pit maneuver and even spiked the car's tires. Officers say the driver was a 52-year-old man with several warrants out for his arrest. Layton police are searching for a man who led officers on a chase before running away in Salt Lake City. Police identified Eddie Angelo Zamora, who they believe is connected with a Layton shooting. He's 31 years old. He's described as 5'9" and 220 pounds with brown eyes and black hair. Police say Zamora is armed and dangerous. If you know where he is, call police at 801-799-3000. A Provo man is arrested for sexual abuse after placing an ad on Craigslist, posing as a doctor conducting medical research. Provo police arrested 34-year-old Borzan Matagian on charges of object rape. A woman contacted police after she replied to an ad on Craigslist by Matagian saying he was conducting a medical research study specific to women's health. Police say the woman met him in a Provo office where a, quote, exam took place. Investigators have identified at least one other victim. They ask anyone else who was victimized by the man to call detectives. Provo City's recent decision to widen Lakeview Parkway could affect an important archaeological site. The city claimed eminent domain over much of the property along the proposed parkway. The new road will expand on top of the Hinckley Mounds where Fremont Indians lived about 1,000 years ago. BYU and UVU students have excavated mounds under the direction of BYU professor Michael Searcy. Dr. Searcy says that the Provo mounds are very important.
Provo mounds make up what are probably the remains of the largest Fremont Indian village in Utah. So they're very important to not only the history of Utah, but also to the history of this valley.
The Hinckley Mounds are one of the few pockets of land with existing Fremont artifacts. City expansion has destroyed the majority of sites in the area. Dr. Searcy is working with the city to mitigate the road's impact on the mounds. According to Searcy, the city engineer verbally committed to explore the archaeology that could be affected. U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis visits the heavily guarded demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Mattis says the U.S. and South Korea's goal is not war in dealing with North Korea. North Korea this week renewed the threat to test a nuclear weapon above ground. Mattis says the U.S. and South Korea are committed to a diplomatic solution to address the North Korea's, quote, reckless behavior. A Grambling State University freshman surrenders to police after learning there is a warrant for his arrest in the shooting deaths of two fellow students. Jalen M. Wayne is charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of Earl Andrews and Moncarius Caldwell. Investigators believe the shooting occurred after a fight between Andrews and Wayne. A recent study from Brigham Young University finds that stress is just as bad for your health as a poor diet.
When I feel stressed, I get very anxious. That's one of the things. So like I said, there's always that lingering suspicion in the back of my mind that things are going to go wrong, and I don't think about that all the time, but it's always there.
The study took place in China. In the study, researchers used a group of 8-week-old mice. They exposed half of the males and half of the females to a high-fat diet. In the female mice, stress caused the bacteria in the gut to change as if the animals were on a high-fat diet. Researchers say stress is a psychological phenomenon, but it also causes distinct physical changes. Researchers believe the physical reactions that happened with the mice as a result of stress could happen with humans. Every year, 600,000 women in the U.S. suffer from postpartum depression. There's a new type of medication trending in Utah for this problem. Many new mothers experience a swing of emotions after having a baby. Taking placenta pills is a new way to help ease hormone imbalances. Midwives also claim the pills increase energy and breast milk supply. Kylie Bradley, who has a history of depression, took the pills for both of her pregnancies.
I just never got depressed. It just felt normal. So I think that was the best thing, is that there was no change in my mood. It was just like smooth sailing.
There are only a handful of studies about placenta consumption. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention discourages women from taking placenta pills, while another recent study from Nutrition Research states that there may be micronutrients from eating the placenta. Scientists and health advocates continue to study the effects of these pills. More than 750 games, amazing gnocchi, and the coolest vibe in the city. All these things come together at a new cafe in downtown Provo. Welcome to Good Move Cafe on the corner of Center Street and University Avenue. Good Move is a board game cafe bursting with comfortable booths and games galore. Staff says even if you're not playing games, it's still worth stopping by to grab a bite to eat.
Everyone just thinks, oh, it's just going to be standard cafe food, and it's not. It's like a whole other level above what you can normally find in a cafe, because it's all made in-house and it's all really fresh.
So whether you're headed over there for a Cobb salad, a Huckleberry soda, or the life-size Connect 4, it's sure to be a good move. The grand opening event is on its way, but until then, doors are open daily from 11 a.m. until 11 p.m.